In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at one of the objectives you need to complete in the quest All That Glisters. We'll be looking at 4 different ways you can go about solving this quest, as well as what I believe to be the most profitable solution. So let's get started. She be gaming. The quest we'll be taking a deeper look at today is called All That Glisters. There are a couple different markers for this quest, tasks you have to complete, but the one we're going to be looking at is A, where you're tasked with finding out who in Sasau works with copper. I'll admit that this particular objective in this quest I found to be quite challenging. In fact, I failed this objective during my own playthrough. If you're interested in watching my playthrough of this quest, I'll leave the link here for you. There are 4 alternative ways of completing this objective we'll be exploring in this video. The last option we'll be looking at is what I think is the most fun and most profitable way of completing this objective. There are a few individuals you'll want to speak to get more information about this quest.
Hey,
and the game doesn't really tell you where they are. First up, you're going to want to go and speak to Master Ota to get a little bit more information.
Good God, you look terrible. Did someone attack you?
What can you tell me about the blacksmiths here in Sasau?
Depends which ones you mean. In the town there's Mikesh. He's a decent man and an honest craftsman. And in the yard by the monastery there's Zach. But there's not many good words I can say about him.
What about the monastery blacksmith, Zach?
Well, him and me don't exactly see eye to eye. He wanted to buy my business, but I turned him down. Ever since then, he hasn't had a good word to say about me.
Tell me something about Mikesh.
Like I said, he's an honest craftsman, which isn't something you can say about every blacksmith in town.
That'll be all. Thank you.
Ask all the blacksmiths if they work with copper.
Do you make anything out of copper, Master?
I do a bit of Damascene decor sometimes. Why do you ask?
I'm looking for someone who could do me some copper sheets.
Well, that's pretty rough and ready work. I wouldn't waste my time with it. But go and ask Zach from the craftsman's yard by the monastery. He's bought up all the copper to be had around here anyway.
So you end up finding out that there's a bit of a rivalry between Master Ota and Zach, and that Zach has been buying up all the copper in Sasau. So he's definitely someone you're going to want to find and talk to. For some reason, the map shows Zach at the inn, but that's not where he is at all, actually. He's usually found in the courtyard across from the monastery. For this video, it just so happened that I stumbled across him while he was walking to the inn at night after work on his way to get dinner. During the day, though, you won't find him here because he'll be hard at work across from the monastery in his shed.
God save. What can I do for you?
Do you work any copper here, Master Blacksmith?
Why'd you ask?
I'd want to commission you to make something.
Then you'd best go elsewhere. I never use copper.
That's not what I heard.
What?
I was told in town that you bought all the other blacksmiths' copper.
I'm being made a fool of yet again, it seems. Anything else? I still have work to do.
What can you tell me about the Sasau blacksmiths?
Well, there's Mikesh. He's honest enough, and a fair-handed everyday things. And then there's Master Ota. He used to have talent, but now he's too old, and too proud to admit it.
Zach will continue to deny working with copper.
So back to that copper, Master Blacksmith.
What? I thought I told you I don't work with copper.
Aha.
This is where you'll have to get a little creative and try to find a way to get Zach to admit that he actually does work with copper. Alright, so let's take a look at some of the ways you can get Zach to open up and admit that he's actually the blacksmith that's been working with copper in Sasau. If you go and visit Zach at work during the day, when you get there, you'll notice that he also has an apprentice, Vitus. Either Vitus or Vitus, one of the two. But that's his son. And if you press his son for a little bit more information about the copper, he'll tell you everything you need to know about his father and him both working with copper.
I'm glad to see you.
Your father says you don't work any copper.
We don't.
I've heard differently around town. They say your father's bought up all the copper to be had.
Are you calling me a liar? Or my father? You're asking for it, boy.
So here you're faced with options as per usual. Now, you can take the more diplomatic route with Vitus.
You're right. It's nothing to me either way.
Right. So clear off.
I mean, beside the fact I'm here on behalf of the Royal Burgrave Sir Radzig Kobyla, investigating a grievous crime against the crown.
What? What are you talking about?
I'd let you read my Bill of Authority, but I doubt you're educated enough to understand it.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realise. If I'd known, of course I wouldn't. I mean, you understand, don't you?
Stop prattling, for God's sake, and start telling me the truth. What's the story with the copper at your forge?
You're right. We do make copper sheets here at night.
Who buys those sheets from you?
I don't know. I've never set eyes on him. Father doesn't like to talk about it.
So why all the secrecy about it?
Father forbade me to talk about it. I don't know why. I didn't ask.
Your father has some serious explaining to do.
I'm so sorry. If I'd known who you were, I'd never have taken such liberties.
Never mind. You weren't to know who I am. You were just protecting your father's business interests like any good son.
Thank you. God be with you.
But the aggressive option is a lot more fun, in my opinion.
I've come to ask about the copper one more time.
Are you deaf or stupid? You know what? It doesn't matter. Just clear off before I thump you.
Just be sure you know what you're letting yourself in for.
Was that a threat? Do you think I'm an idiot?
You don't get it, do you? I don't particularly want to fight with you. I don't have the time or the need to prove anything. So I'll just take my knife and stick it between your ribs. And then I'll keep twisting until you tell me the truth.
So show me what you're made of. Good luck then.
He's really no match for Henry, so word of caution, just be careful because I think you can actually kill him if you go a little too strong. Now that you've knocked some sense into him, he'll be happy to answer your questions.
So what do you have to tell me?
You're right. We do make copper sheets here at night.
Your father has some serious explaining to do.
Jesus, please don't hurt him.
Don't worry. Doing to your father what I did to you would just be cruel. One invalid in the family is quite enough.
Thank you. See you later.
Now that you've gotten a confession from Zach's son, you can return to Zach and let him know that his son spilled the beans.
So back to that copper, Master Blacksmith.
What? I thought I told you I don't work with copper.
Your son put it quite differently.
What's that? What are you blabbering on about?
Don't be angry with him. I didn't give him any choice.
All right. I suppose there's no point lying. We do make copper sheets here, and I wanted to keep it quiet.
Why?
Pays me good money, and the people I do it for. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of them.
Did they threaten you?
They didn't have to. Just by the look of them, I could say I needed to shut my mouth and do what they wanted.
And did they ever tell you who they were? Do you know where to find them?
I know a little. But show some understanding. There's nothing but trouble in it for me. I'll lose the work and be left looking over my shoulder for some thugs to come and burn down my house. Or worse.
If you lie down with dogs, you shouldn't complain about the fleas.
There's no need for threats. We can both benefit here. If I tell you everything I know, you can help me with a certain small matter. One that'll cover up for my loss of earnings.
We'll be coming back to this offer a little bit later, but for now, we're going to reject the offer.
You've got cheek. Not only are you in with the counterfeiter gang, but you lied to me on top of it. You should be on your knees begging for mercy right now, not trying to make a profit.
I didn't know what they were doing.
But now you do know, and you've still got the cheek to try to strike a deal with me. So Radzig definitely going to be hearing about this.
You're right. I'm sorry, I overstepped the mark. I certainly didn't mean to offend one of Lord Radzig's men. One evening I got a visit from this scruffy beggar calling himself Rapota. He had a yellow cape on and kept whistling to himself. There was a knight with him too, but he didn't give his name. They told me what I had to do, how much I'd get for it, and I had to keep my mouth shut.
And where can I find this rapporteur? Or the knight?
I don't know exactly. But I've always left the wagon with the goods behind the monastery, on the hill there, next to a small chapel under a big tree.
Anything else?
No. I swear that's all I know.
Well, that'll do me for now.
Young man, about that matter I need help with. I'll gladly pay you.
I'm not interested.
Okay, so let's take a look at the second way you can get Zach to admit that he works with copper. And that's by finding the secret stash of copper he has hidden away in his shed. Once you find it, you can definitely pick the lock. It's pretty easy. But if you did get into a fist fight with Vitus, the easiest way is to just loot his body while he's unconscious and take the shed key. That way, you'll just be able to unlock it once you get there.
Copper. And quite a lot of it. I wonder what Zach will have to say about this.
Wonder what Zach will have to say indeed. Well, there's only one way to find out, friend.
So back to that copper, Master Blacksmith.
What? I thought I told you I don't work with copper.
I see. Then it's a little odd that you have baskets full of raw copper in the shed round the back.
You've been in my barn? Best make a head start before I talk to the bailiff.
Your workshop's supplying a counterfeiting gang. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me the truth.
All right. I suppose there's no point lying. We do make copy sheets here, and I wanted to keep it quiet.
Why?
Pays me good money, and the people I do it for. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of them.
So you let them intimidate you? Thought you were made of sterner... So you let them intimidate you? Thought you were made of sterner stuff.
I thought so too. But I'm not an idiot, and my pride isn't worth my life.
If you don't cooperate, you'll be getting a lot worse than that from me.
There's no need for threats. We can both benefit here. If I tell you everything I know, you can help me with a certain small matter. One that'll cover up for my loss of earnings.
You've got a cheek. Not only are you in with the counterfeiter gang, but you lied to me on top of it. You should be on your knees begging for mercy right now. I'm not trying to make a profit.
I didn't know what they were doing.
But now you do know, and you've still got the cheek to try to strike a deal with me. So Rad's are definitely going to be hearing about this.
You're right. I'm sorry, I overstepped the mark. I certainly didn't mean to offend one of Lord Radzig's men. One evening I got a visit from this scruffy beggar calling himself Rapota. He had a yellow cape on and kept whistling to himself. There was a knight with him too, but he didn't give his name. They told me what I had to do, how much I'd get for it, and I had to keep my mouth shut.
And where can I find this rapporteur? Or the knight?
I don't know exactly. But I've always left the wagon with the goods behind the monastery, on the hill there, next to a small chapel under a big tree.
Anything else?
No. I swear that's all I know.
Well, that'll do me for now.
A third way to get Zach to confess is by simply catching him in the act at night. During the quest, when you speak to some of the tradesmen at the monastery, you'll hear them complaining about there being a lot of noise at night.
How are you?
That noise is Zach and his son working away early mornings. So if you go early enough, around 2 or 3 a.m., you'll be able to catch them in the act.
I grew up in a smithy, and I'm not stupid.
What do you mean?
I've never yet seen a forge where they worked after dark.
We have a lot to do.
Really? And what about that smell? Like I said, I was raised in a smithy. I know the whiff of smelting copper.
All right. I suppose there's no point lying. We do make copy sheets here, and I wanted to keep it quiet.
From here, the dialogue is the same from the last two examples we looked at, so we're going to skip ahead to the fourth option. And this is the option that I consider to be the most fun and the most profitable. For this fourth option, when Zach asks Henry to help him out with a little problem he has, you're going to want to accept the offer.
Henry, I'm glad
So what are
you
we
came.
talking about?
I recently tried to buy Master Armourer Otto Rabstein's business for my son Vitus, but that old fool wouldn't listen to reason. He said he couldn't understand his legacy being taken over by a clod like my Vitus. Despite the insult, I doubled my offer, but Master Otto still wouldn't budge.
And what is it you need from me?
I thought I'd show Otto that Vitus isn't such a dolt as he thinks. But for that I need someone experienced in combat.
Well, that doesn't sound so bad. What's your plan?
Otto's busy making a very pretty suit of armor for the bailiff. So I was thinking, if we could show that pretty armor of his is absolutely useless, he'd be disgraced.
And how am I supposed to see to that?
Well, I'd reckon we'd arrange a duel of champions with bludgeons. You'll put on Vitus's armor, and Otto will send his champion in that tin shit of his. You invite the bailiff to watch, and Otto will be made a laughingstock in front of everyone.
And what do I get out of it?
What we already agreed. I'll give up dealing in copper, and I'll tell you everything I know about what's been going on.
But what if I lose?
Nonsense. How could you? Vitus's armor is light as an eggshell and hard as a rock.
Do you really think that will work?
Otto's always mouthing off in the alehouse that my young lad isn't worth a damn. Once I show he's just a bitter old bastard spouting hot air, his business will be ruined, and Vitus will reap the reward. What with all the strife in the country these days, there'll be no end of work for a good armourer.
If your Henry has sticky fingers.
How about if the armour for the bailiff mysteriously went missing?
Jesus Christ! Don't even talk about it. Although, if Otto doesn't agree to the duel, it might be the only option.
Exactly. And if you want to wreck Otto's reputation, not keeping his promise to the bailiff could be even worse for him than your idea.
You're right. Do whatever you think fit then. But if the armor gets, lost, don't come to me afterwards. I know nothing about it, right?
Of course.
So now things have just got really interesting. There's basically a mini quest inside of this objective for the main quest, All That Glisters. After you accept the duel from Zach, you're going to want to return to Master Otto and see if he's going to accept the duel on his end and what he might have to say.
Master Armourer, I have a message for you from blacksmith Zach.
If it's another one of his so-called generous offers, you can go straight back and tell him I'm not selling, and that's that.
No, this is another matter. Vitus wants to challenge you to a duel.
What? Me fight with that brat? Zach must have lost his mind entirely.
That's not how it will be. The real duel will be between your pieces of handiwork.
How's that?
It will be a duel with bludgeons. No bloodshed. At most, a few bruises and some dents in the armour. Zach chose me to wear Vitus armour.
And so I'm to choose a champion of my own? That sounds reasonable.
Good. So let's agree on the time and place.
Hold your horses, young fella. I've got a counter offer for you. Now, I'm sure Zach is paying you well.
I won't deny it.
I could pay you more, and I'd tailor-make a cuirass just for you. What do you say?
You mean if I fight as your champion instead? I'm not sure how Zach would take it.
No, you fight on Zach's side and lose.
So here's where you'll have to make a choice, basically deciding which blacksmith you're going to support and side with. Now, each has its own reward, I guess you could say, at the end of it, and we're going to take a look at both outcomes. Let's see what happens if you agree to side with Zach first.
That's not very honourable.
And Zach's constant slander and mudslinging are the height of honour, are they?
It's true Zach hasn't behaved like an honourable craftsman.
See? So, will you help me?
Forget it. I won't sully my name with cheating.
Suit yourself. But my champion will batter you into the ground anyway, so you've nothing to gain.
So, choose the time and place.
What, me?
You're the one being challenged, so it's your right.
Well, it's all the same to me. Go and sort it out with the bailiff. He should know about it anyway, so I don't look like a troublemaker.
All right?
Right, so now you have to go find the bailiff. I usually find him walking around behind here, and get his permission to move forward with the duel.
God save. What can I do for you?
I'm here on behalf of blacksmith Zach.
Zach? What does that madman want now? Don't tell me. It's another complaint about the master armorer. Well, you can tell Zach if you waste another minute of my time with that pathetic feud of his, I'll have him up for disrespecting the office of the bailiff.
No, it's not a complaint this time. In fact, Zach came up with an idea to settle the dispute once and for all.
Is that so? Well, that's a different kettle of fish. That's just what I was after. You have my full attention, friend. What's his plan?
A duel.
Jesus Christ! Has he lost his wits entirely?
Now, don't worry, Goodman Bailiff. No one will get killed. It will only be a duel with bludgeons. Zach chose me as his champion. I'll be wearing a suit of armour made by his son, Vitus, and I'll fight Otter's champion. Whoever falls first, loses.
That sounds like a fine spectacle for the village green. Naturally, I'll have to be present to ensure nothing untoward happens.
Your presence is certainly expected, Bailiff. We'd like you to referee the whole duel.
Very well. We'll have it on the marketplace in the front of the church. But when?
That's up to you.
We could announce it right now.
Let's do it.
I'll have it announced around town. You come along at just the right time. It'll be a fine show for the townsfolk, and I'll finally get that pair and their constant squabbling off my back. Take care.
Here's where the fun comes in. You get to actually have a duel.
Good citizens of Sasau, our township has long been plagued by a protracted dispute. As you are no doubt aware, Zach, the blacksmith of the monastery courtyard, and Master Armourer Otto Rabstein have been, for some time, at odds.
Ha ha! Added hammer and tongs, more like!
And in so much as it behoves my office as bailiff to settle such disputes and maintain peace and order, I have decided to resolve the blacksmith's quarrel by unconventional means, whilst affording an entertaining spectacle. In short, we shall let them knock each other's teeth out. However, since it ill befits two respectable tradesmen to maul each other on the market square like a pair of cocks on a dung heap, each of them has elected a champion. Zach, the blacksmith, has appointed to fight in his stead Henry of Scarlets. And Master Otto Rabstein's champion will be... Please, introduce yourself, Sir Knight.
Master Otter will fight for Master Otter. I don't need some young pup to take my place.
I remind you that this will be a duel with bludgeons alone, and until first blood is shed. Come, folks, be sensible for heaven's sake. We don't want any maiming here, or, God forbid, murder. So, if both contestants are ready, let us begin.
Something important to know regarding the duel is that there are two different rewards you can get from Zach, and it all depends on one thing. When you get the information regarding the copper out of him. If you talk to Zach and you get the information regarding the copper after the duel, your reward will be simply the information regarding the copper. But if you manage to get the information from Zach before agreeing to duel, your reward will end up being something much more valuable. So you'll want to make sure that you squeeze that information out of him before you duel for him.
You kicked that old bastard's arse, Henry. His ears will be ringing for a month. Now everyone will see who knows how to make armor and who's all hot air.
You shouldn't speak so disrespectfully about Master Otter. He fought bravely.
No need to get worked up about it. You've got to savour the victory, haven't you? Anyway, come by the forge later for your reward.
All right?
Let's take a look at the reward that Zach will give you if you did not get the information regarding the copper from him before agreeing to duel as his champion.
I'll come for my reward.
Of course. And thanks again, lad. It's worked wonders for my trade.
And will Otter sell you his business?
I don't know, but the way things are looking now, his trade will soon be dead as a doornail anyway.
I'm glad your trade is going well. Now, about our little deal.
Ah, that little matter. Right.
So, out with it. How is it all arranged?
So in this scenario, your reward is basically the bargain and the deal that you made with Zach for information. And that's pretty much it. He doesn't give you anything else. Now let's take a look at the reward you get if you've managed to squeeze the information regarding the copper out of Zach before you duel.
I'll come for my reward.
Of course. And thanks again, lad. It's worked wonders for my trade.
You told me I'd get that kiras made by Vitus and a few groschen on top.
I did. And I'm a man of my word. Here you are.
Thanks.
Doing things this way means you get Vitus's cuirass, 450 groschen, and the stats for the cuirass are pretty good as well. It's also worth 2.3k gold, and you get the information you were looking for regarding the copper, so this is definitely the better way to go. Alternatively, if you decided to side with Master Utta and throw the duel, you'll still get a reward, but definitely not as good as the one Zach will give you.
What the hell are you playing at, you blockhead? That old fart made a complete fool of you.
I'm sorry. Otter was just too good for me.
Damn it. I should have known you weren't up to it. Well, I'll just have to think of something else.
But the bailiff said the duel would end the dispute.
Quiet! Don't annoy me more than you already have. Now get out of my sight before I shove the bludgeon up your ass.
I'll come for my reward.
It's a good thing you're here. I'm glad you didn't change your mind about throwing the duel. You could land some hefty blows if you wanted to.
Maybe.
I'll give you one of my older pieces, but I adjusted it so it'll fit you like a glove.
Thanks.
If you ever need anything else, stop by.
I will.
So this option gives you Otto's cuirass and another 450 groschen, but Otto's cuirass is only worth 894 groschen, and the stats on it are not very good either. So siding with Zach is still the better way to go. This might also put to rest their dispute and finally determine that Zach might be the better blacksmith indeed. Two little side notes. If you decide to break into Master Otta's house at night instead and steal his cuirass instead of dueling him, the reward you get from Zach will be the same. Also good to know is whichever blacksmith you turn down will no longer agree to work for you at Privoslavitz.
Master Blacksmith, I've got a great offer for you.
What? After you sided with that swindler Zach? Not a chance.
So there you have the various ways you can complete that objective on figuring out who works with copper in Sasau. Let me know if you completed that objective a different way than what I showed in this video. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up for me if you did. Like always, thank you for spending this time with me today, friend, and I will see you in the next video.